Actors are really good at their jobs, and that's probably why they're so good at faking chemistry on screen, while thinking about selling their co-stars to cannibals in exchange for peanuts and sweets. Even the tougher guys bicker at it like kids every once in a while. Take a look at Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy. In Lawless, these two bull elephants apparently locked tusks with each other. And guess what? It also ended up with Tom getting knocked out. Yep, knocked out, as in temporarily in Wonderland. This was even confirmed by Tom himself in an interview. According to him, he was drinking moonshine, and all of a sudden, he woke up in his personal trainer's arms. Talk about a good night's rest. According to LaBeouf, however, he was getting tired of Tom peeing in the corners and acting all territorial. On the day of the brawl, Tom picks a naked LaBeouf on his shoulder, and they wrestle it out in the hallway. I wouldn't call it sumo wrestling, but I'm sure they looked amusingly scandalous. Tom then falls down the stairs and hurts his back. He then goes the rest of the shoot telling everyone that LaBeouf knocked him out. It's funny, and while there's a bit of naked wrestling in this scenario, it still isn't as awkward as Jennifer Lawrence's sex scenes with Chris Pratt. How these guys managed to make sex scenes awkward for each other, we'd never know. In the Passenger movie, you really can't get past the passion between the characters. It's an average movie at best, let's be honest, but it's not a forgettable one to Jennifer in any way. To cope with her romantic scenes with Chris, Jennifer claims she took lots and lots of alcohol. Personally, if a woman had to take alcohol to shoot intimate scenes with me, I'd be insulted. Chris definitely must have found that bizarre, but it was even more grotesque for Jennifer, considering Chris was also married then. The two might play it off to the world, but it's easy to predict that neither would be in any hurry to co-star with the other again. It's awkward, alright? But it's a lot more civil than whatever Nina Dobrev and Paul Wesley had going on. Shocked? We were as well. One would think Stefan and Elena would get along in real life. Turns out there actually is no hope for humans and vampires to live in harmony. Paul didn't bite Nina or anything like that. I'm sure she'd have slapped him if he tried. But they apparently yelled at each other a lot on set. Their on-screen chemistry was so good that even we wouldn't notice they were going at it behind the scene. It wouldn't be the first time, it wouldn't be the last, but it sure is shocking every time. It even happened in those annoyingly sweet romantic movies, like The Notebook. That's right, I feel a bit of sadistic pleasure being the bearer of this bad news.
I don't think we're ever coming back to Monte Carlo. No. We've been exiled.
You're just jokesters. It's been amazing. There's been so many people, and the show hasn't even aired yet, so.
Ryan Gosling was the perfect typecast, handsome, charming, and charismatic. Rachel McAdams was all you needed in a leading woman, beautiful, elegant, and dreamy. With those magnetic qualities, it should have been easy for both of them to at least work well with each other. You'd be in for a shock. Things were so bad that, for a scene, Ryan didn't even want to read his lines with Rachel. He requested from the director that he be allowed to read the lines with another actor. Rachel, of course, did not appreciate this. I personally would have settled it man to man, but being the wimps they both are, they only started to scream at each other. Zany is the word for it. I mean, sure, the characters on screen had their moments of conflict, but one wouldn't have expected their actors to be this antagonistic to each other. The director eventually had to hold a therapy session for both of them. I laugh at the thought of Ryan being forced to hold hands with Rachel to make peace. It definitely is bizarre to think about the amount of movies that should have co-stars becoming close to each other, but instead, they have co-stars trying to garnish each other's meals with bird droppings. Romance movies like The Notebook are an example.
The character that he meets, Allie, is from Charleston, and she comes for the summer.
Slice of life shows like Sex and the City are also included. Let me give you a scenario. Imagine if watching Friends, you'll later find out that Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox aren't friends. It would seem weird, given that they spent so much time on screen acting like friends and stuff. It was this weird when we found out about Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker didn't get along at all. There had been rumors. There was even a time when Kim sat away from the girls at the Emmys. They all debunked these rumors, though, until Kim said in 2017 that Sarah could have been nicer about refusing not to make a third movie. The pot finally exploded when Kim's brother died. Sarah posted a condolence message on Kim's Instagram, and Kim, in full view of the world, told her to stuff the condolence where the sun doesn't shine, and that they were never friends, and that her reaching out consistently was a painful reminder of how mean she used to be to her. Yikes. Oh well. And there isn't a shortage of actresses who don't get along.
Yeah, like people live with their families. That's funny.
Oh, look who it is, the host with the most. Rudeness.
Despite acting together for a long time, Desperate Housewives stars Nicolette Sheridan and Terry Hatcher do not get along either. According to the show's writer, Nicolette went as far as calling Terry the meanest woman in the world. But don't get it twisted, actresses may indeed argue a lot on set, but it's no more than the actors do.
My lawyer and my publicist said, categorically not true. You can't print.
Even George Takei and William Shatner of the original Star Trek movies do not get along at all. According to George, William wasn't a team player on set. He apparently liked to have the camera on him, even though it took everyone contributing to get the most out of a scene. George also recently mocked William's trip to space. Shatner responded by saying George has a psychosis and that he only pities him and spares no other emotions for him. Ouch.
Imagine Bill Shatner running down those corridors like Chris Pine did. Yeah. That's not a pretty sight.
You're never afraid. Looks like the crew of the Enterprise have issues left unsolved. Another case of dudes fighting on set, Channing Tatum and Alex Pettyfer. Well, not fighting. Channing never actually addressed the rumors. Alex has, however. He mentions how people used to think he was quite snobby on set, and clearly that didn't win him any points with Channing. This beef was even made worse by the fact that Alex rented an apartment from a friend of Channing's and moved out before paying the rent he owed. What a really flaky way to behave. Our last example of guys fighting is a really surprising one. Imagine making 10 movies about the power of family and still beefing with each other like bats in a box.
Joe, Matthew and Matt, who had the most fun or who was like really ready to dive in and get dirty?
I guess Channing, because he lived this.
You guessed it, the Fast and Furious franchise may be all about how the power of family gives you the ability to dodge bullets and drag helicopters with your bare hands. It apparently isn't enough to stop the actors from beefing with each other. The Rock, Vin Diesel, and Tyrese Gibson apparently also do not get along well. Dwayne Johnson seems to be the common denominator here. For Vin Diesel, he had colorful insult. Apparently that specific beef was due to creative differences and clashes in movie-making philosophies. They patched that up in a secret meeting, but it's clear it still hasn't been smooth sailing since then. Tyrese took offense to Dwayne's solo movie, Hobbs and Shaw, and even mocked it when the opening box office numbers didn't do so well. Dwayne never responded to Tyrese directly, but he did have a lot to say about Vin's remarks in an interview. He then said he was never going to make another Fast and Furious movie again, and so far he's made good on that promise. It's always wild when talented actors let petty quarrels mess up their off-screen chemistry. But then again, they're human. Won't be the first time it happens, won't be the last. As fans, we can only hope our faves don't get into it. And there you have it, stars who didn't get along well on set.
Jack!
How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing the best I can with... Yes, it's exciting.
Going big!